Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and to my knitting podcast series. I'm super happy that you could join me today. Thank you so much. My name is Samantha and I am the knitter and knitwear designer behind the Strikkechick. So on my knitting podcast series specifically, I just like to give you guys a really casual breakdown of what I have recently cast off my needles, what I am currently working on, and any new yarn or other knitting related acquisitions that I may have, which I have been trying to be good. I know I've mentioned in the last couple knitting podcast episodes that I've been trying to be good about yarn acquisitions, but there's always something, right? So there's always at least something in the acquisition section, but it's been quite a while since I last filmed one of these finished objects, works in progress, and acquisitions videos. So I have quite a bit to show you guys. So we're just going to power through and hopefully you like what I have to show you. Love to hear what you're working on or what you've recently cast off and are really proud of. So let me know in the comments below. And let's just dive right into it. So my first finished object of 2023 is actually what I'm wearing today. So those things kind of overlap. I usually tell you guys a little bit about what I'm wearing, but today I was just so excited about this recently finished object. This is the Farnham sweater from the Knit Purl Girl, Sophie of the Knit Purl Girl, who is just a lovely, lovely designer. So this was so fun to knit, especially like if you look at, I don't know how well I can show you guys without disrupting my mic, but look at these stripes and how well they meet. I'm obsessed. It is a top-down drop shoulder sweater, which was a new construction for me. I had never done a top-down drop shoulder before. So, oh my gosh, short rows. There were so many short rows, but I loved it. It was super fun, super interesting to knit. And I think one of her samples was in the new Sunless Garn Tin Sunday and Silk Mohair, and then one of hers I think was in Knitting for Olive Merino and Mohair. And I wanted just a little bit more of a budget-friendly option, so I went with Drops Flora, held with Drops Kid Silk in the shade white. I think it's not off-white, it's like the pure kind of bleached white. And I went for navy blue for the stripes, which is actually what she used for her first sample. Not a lot of creativity on my part there, but I thought it was just nice and classic, and something I would just always reach for in my wardrobe, so that is what I ended up doing. I love the rolled collar effect that you have up here, just because I usually make my sweaters kind of high up on the neck just because of where I live. I live in the Arctic Circle of Norway, so it gets really, really cold. And I don't really like layering scarves a lot, so I like to just wear sweaters that are a bit higher up. But I think this is really nice because the combination of Flora and Drops Kid Silk to me is just a little bit itchy. So this kind of really helps to, if I had it up on my neck, I'd be kind of like pulling at it all the time, but now I'm not, it's okay. So yeah, I really, I like that part of the construction, and all of the Italian bind off that goes into looks like I'm showing you guys a ring, but I'm not, I'm showing you the cuff. All of the Italian bind off that goes into the ribbing. It's just, it's so well thought out, it's so well designed, and it is super fun to knit. And this pattern is still in testing. It will be out, I think, in March was when she wanted. Also, I'm sorry if you can hear some like snow shoveling. I think we had a pretty big snowfall today, so there's a lot of people with their like automatic snow shovels going outside, so I hope you don't hear too much of that. But yeah, that is the Farnham sweater. And all of these sweaters that I show you, and the works in progress as well, one of my goals for 2023 has been to get better about my Ravelry project pages, putting in the yarn and the colorways and the amounts that I used, writing down any notes both for myself and for people who might want to modify the patterns in the same way that I did. So all of the projects I show you are going to be on Ravelry except for my finished objects, ironically, except for this one because this is a test knit, and Sophie has not done a tester page for the Farnham sweater. And the ones that I show you, which are my designs, which are also, they're still in testing, so there's no official Ravelry page for them, but I will try to make a project page for either one that like links to my own tester code. That way you guys can see if you want. So moving on to those designs, if I can extricate it from all of this over here. This is something that I have never shown you guys on my podcast, except actually in my Everything I Designed wrap-up video that I just filmed. But this is my Air pullover. Ooh! Yeah, it's lovely. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I love this sweater so much. I always reach for it. I feel like I'm always wearing it. It is a knit that I designed inspired by a traditional fisherman shirt. I just keep holding it up, but you guys have seen it. And what I can do is I can also pop in a little video that I filmed with myself like wearing it and trying it on, showing you from different angles, just so you can see what it looks like. But it is a really, really nice knit. It went really fast, which is why I never showed you any works in progress of this, because it is knit in 2 strands of Drops Air, and I used the shade Pink Sand for mine. I believe that's the colorway 34, but again, Ravelry project pages. I used the color Pink Sand. I held a double on 9mm needles, 7mm for the ribbing. So it just flew right off the needles. It was so quick, even though it's a pretty intricate cable knit sweater. It is top down from the yoke, so you have some short row shaping at the back, and then you just kind of immediately go into the raglan increases on the yoke, separate for body and sleeves, and then you pick up and knit in the round. So it is completely seamless, which is the way I like them. I do not like to do any sewing after the fact. I just think it's like, oh, you're so close. And that's just something that's like, oh, I finished knitting and now I have to sit here and seam everything together. So I try to make my sweaters seamless if at all possible. It's cropped. I say cropped, but it hits at like my hip bone, and you'll see in the video. And also, it's fairly oversized. So mine has about 30 centimeters of positive ease on me, which I just think is extra cozy and nice. So I quite enjoy that. And yeah, it is in testing right now. Actually, as of filming, it just went into testing today. So hopefully I'll have that out for you guys in March, and then you can knit your own Air pullover if you feel so inclined. My final finished object that I have for you guys today is another thing that I designed, but I have been showing you snippets of this. So you'll remember this from all the way back last summer if you were with me then. But this is, oh my gosh, where is the top? This is my Fjellblomst cardigan, which means mountain flower in Norwegian. And I named it that because I think that the colors here remind me a little bit of the flowers that grow on the mountainside near Tromsø in the summer and the spring, I guess. So yeah, it's just a really nice long duster cardigan that's made with thick mohair yarn, and I have another little clip of myself wearing it that I can like put in here somewhere just so you can see, because I can't get the entire thing in the frame for you, it's just way too big. But it's mostly just knit in stockinette from the top down with a little bit of raglan shaping, raglan increases over here. I'm trying to see if I can get that to you. Yeah, right there. And then you have just a little bit of cabling on the sleeves. I don't know how well that contrast is picking up, but there are cables that go down. And then you have just a little bit of color blocking all the way at the bottom, which is just a nice way to use up your scraps of kid silk or leftover thick mohair, which is what these were for me. They were just little leftover bits of mohair that I just stuck in there, and I really like the little effect that it gives. That's that one little pop of color on an otherwise very nice, versatile, neutral cardigan. And then you just pick up ribbing for a button band, but I didn't put any buttons in mine because I just figured, well, it's a nice indoor cardigan, so I'm just gonna wear it and, you know, use it as either something that I throw on when I'm really cold, or maybe I could take it down to the beach in the summer and just throw it on in the evenings as like a wrap, just so, you know, there's a little bit of chill in the air, and then you toss this on and it's nice and soft and comfy and keeps you warm. So that is the Fjellblomst cardigan, and I'm still actually writing up the pattern for this guy because the air pullover was so complicated to write up. So I devoted all my energy to that, and then I figured I will do Fjellblomst when it is over. So I will be writing the pattern for the Fjellblomst cardigan starting now. And hopefully it'll be out for a tester call relatively soon. So I am excited for that. And keep your eyes open if you, keep your eyes peeled if you want to test the Fjellblomst cardigan when the tester call comes out. So now we're moving on to some of my works in progress, which I have shown you guys before. I think you've seen almost all of these at least once on this channel. But the one that I am kind of most proud of, my little knitting pièce de résistance, if I can, oh boy. Yeah, this is a bit of a situation over here. But this is my Dalgarn Lillehammer 94 sweater, which is, oh gosh, it's just been such an adventure to make. So I realized when I was knitting this up, actually, because I was looking at the charts from my computer, because the charts are so intricate, right, that I printed them out, but then I was like, I can barely see what's going on and I need to zoom in. So I was reading them from my computer. And for some reason, because I was reading from a computer, my brain didn't register, and this is someone who writes knitting patterns as well, right? Like you would think I would know this. My brain didn't register that you have to read charts from right to left, and I was just reading them from left to right and knitting that way. So what ended up happening is I have switched, let me see if I can show you. I've switched these motifs on the side, and I'm using both hands to hold it up so I can't like show you, but you can see, right, there's 3 motifs and they should be swapped. Like this whole thing should just be like flipped around the center axis, which isn't that big of a deal, I guess. I mean, the pattern is still there. It's not like anything got really messed up, but it's also like, oh, I know that it's not the traditional Norwegian 94 Olympic sweater, but that's okay. At the point where I realized it, I had just gone too far to rip everything back and start over. It would have made me cry. So I just kept going, and I finished up the body. I knit the collar, but I haven't sewed it down yet. It's supposed to be a double folded collar. For some reason, I've had a lot of issue picking up stitches on this sweater. Like, I don't know if it's me or if it's like I was supposed to do it differently, but I put the stitches on hold for the neckline in the front and the back, and then I picked up stitches along the side, but I think it had you pick up too few stitches for my size, or what I was supposed to do, or what the pattern said to do, was bind off for the collar. But I hate binding off because that means you have to like pick up those stitches from the rib, or the what's it called, from the border, instead of just, you know, picking up the stitches that are on hold, which is so much easier for me to do, at least. So then I'm like, well, maybe I should have just bound them off, and then I could have picked up fewer stitches there, and I could have picked up more stitches here, and it wouldn't have looked like, you see this, right? It looks like a little bit wonky. It just looks like the shoulder's sticking up too much, and the same thing happened with the sleeves, kind of. I feel like it made you pick up too few stitches. But again, you weren't supposed to pick up stitches for the sleeve. You were supposed to knit the sleeve from the top, from the bottom up, and then seam it to the sweater, but I hate seaming. So I was like, what does it matter if I pick it up now or I seam it? But then it looks a bit like it's too small. And yeah, I mean, the original pattern had you steek, but I don't like steeking. Maybe I just changed too much stuff about it. But I'm really, really hoping that when I block it out, I can kind of like give it a bit of a pull, like, right, and just pin it ever so nicely, then maybe the problem will go away. Blocking does fix a lot of things, so I'm hoping it fixes this too. But I'm really excited to wear this. I do think I knit it just a tad bit too long. I don't really like sweaters that go over my hip bone. I think that it just feels overly constricting on me, especially a sweater like this that I would use for being outdoors, which in the original sweater pattern for the Lillehammer 94 sweater, they have you knit the entire body so that it's 60 some centimeters long, which is a good length for a guy. But I mean, on someone like me, I have a very, very short torso. Like, my sweaters are usually anywhere from 45 to maybe 50 at most centimeters long. So what I tried to do here was I tried to shorten this body repeat down here so it wouldn't be as long. But I think I should have shortened it even more in hindsight, because this is definitely more than 50 centimeters long. And it, yeah, I don't really want it bunching up around my waist, because that's what's going to happen, right? It's not like it'll just flow nicely and sit down over your hips. It's like, no, if you're skiing and you're moving your legs, back and forth, then the sweater's going to ride up and it's just going to bunch up around your waist. So I hope that doesn't happen. Maybe I can try to like stretch it out just a tad bit when I block it, just so it like the length kind of shortens. I've done that before. I've like stretched a sweater out so it's wider and then it gets a bit shorter. So I'm hoping I can do that to the body when I block it. So there's a lot of stuff I have to deal with here in blocking, but I'm excited to get it done so I can see what it looks like finally, and if I can do the modifications that I want to do post blocking and how that works. So hopefully I can finish that soon. I know, like I was telling you guys on my 10 sweaters that I want to knit video, that this is one of the sweaters that I really want to have done for this season. So I am powering through it, and I hope that I can get it done for some skiing trips in the winter. My next work in progress, which is really getting there, you guys, is the Innis skirt from, there goes my yarn, from Knits from Oslo, which is this really, really pretty cable motif wrap skirt that is just so much fun to make. And I've memorized the pattern at this point, because I mean, how many times are you gonna knit back and forth the same cable pattern and not have it in your head? But yeah, I have knit 39 centimeters now of these cables, and you are supposed to knit 51 and then start on the ribbing, and then you pick up stitches from the top where you cast on, and you knit a ribbed button band, not a button band, a ribbed waistband, and put some elastic in, and then that is your wrap skirt. So light at the end of the tunnel is coming. She knit her sample in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino and tin silk mohair. No, what is it called? Soft silk mohair. But I am knitting mine in drop soft tweed and Viking kid silk. The Viking kid silk is just because it was the best color match for the tweed, but the tweed is because, as I noticed on my Soul Dog sweater, it doesn't pill. And for a garment like a skirt, I do not want pilling. So I figured I would go with that yarn, and I don't really know how Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino wears with regards to pilling, so I figured I wouldn't risk it for something like this, and I would just go for drop soft tweed. And it is so nice and soft to knit up with. I really enjoyed the process, especially once I memorized the cable patterns and it became my easy TV knitting. So now this is what I knit and watch Netflix too. And I hope to get this done by the fall. So I might get it done a bit early, but the plan is to get it finished by the fall so I can have a nice fall skirt ready for the season. So that is my Innis skirt, and I have a Ravelry project page for this, but I have yet to update it with any pictures. So I will definitely try to do that before this video goes out, or either really soon afterwards. Yeah. And now I'm gonna try to pick up this yarn. Oh boy. We got it, it's good. I just feel, because I have a new microphone now, right, that you can probably see, but that just makes reaching around and grabbing things and everything just so much harder. So if I drop something, I'm like, oh my god, is this going to cause a huge audio, nuisance when I bend over and try to pick it up. But I don't think it did. So I think we're in the clear. The next work in progress that I have to show you is buried under my acquisitions. So I'm going to try to fish it out. Ta-da! Okay, so this isn't much, right? But it is the beginning of my first sleeve for the Hoppy sweater, which is another sweater that I put on my 10 sweaters that I want to knit this fall/winter and told you guys that I wanted to make. And I have knit up the body and I'm working on one of the sleeves right now. So this isn't, this obviously doesn't show you what it is, so I do have the book beside me that I will pull out as soon as I put this away and show you the Hoppy sweater. But I am knitting it in this Lättlöpi yarn. And this is the main color. There's a couple other contrast colors, and I have those codes up on my Ravelry as well. It's Lättlöpi, which is a really nice Icelandic wool, very crunchy, for lack of a better word. It's very stiff, but it's very warm, very insulating, and so it's very good for things like outdoor sweaters, or turgensers, as we call them in Norway. And once I can, there we go. It's going to look like this when it's done. So it's by this Norwegian knitwear designer called Linka Numan, who is just very skilled at designing outdoor sweaters. It's actually the picture on the front of her book, Vildmarksgensere 2. So the Hoppy sweater it just has this beautiful yoke pattern that is just very nice and easy color work, which I think would be a very nice relaxing knit because I hate colorwork floats. And this doesn't give you so many of them, and it's also just a very, very nice pattern. I'll just show you the book while I talk. And it's a very nice pattern, and it's pretty much just straight stockinette knitting for the most part, which is what I really wanted out of this project. I always want to have a project going that's just mindlessly knitting every stitch. Just, for those days where you don't really feel like doing much, and then you can just sit in front of the TV with just like a guilty pleasure TV show and just, knit every stitch in stockinette in the round and just turn your brain off a bit. And that's really what I was going for with this project. And I think that's why I knit the body, and then I kind of stopped for a bit because I don't know, I just didn't feel like I needed that kind of project for a bit. And also the inner skirt turned into kind of the same thing for me because I memorized the pattern, and then I was like, okay, well, now this can be my mindless project. But as soon as that's done, I think I will start really going on the Hoppy again, because it's just really nice, and it's a lovely outdoor sweater to have, especially when hiking season starts up this summer. So I want to have that in time for hiking. I think usually you can start hiking here in June. That's when the snow is like reasonably off the mountains. It depends on the mountain, obviously. Like we have some that are just snow-capped year-round, but then we have others that they do kind of thaw fairly easily or fairly quickly. You can't climb them in May, but you can climb them in June. So yeah, that's what I want to have Hoppy ready for. June is my self-imposed deadline. Yeah, so we will see if I meet that. I've actually had quite a fun time. The other day I was watching my video about the 10 sweaters that I wanted to knit, and I was going through it and I was like, made that, cast that on, have the yarn for that. Like it's cool that I'm actually getting through it, because I thought when I made that it was a very aspirational video, and now I'm like, oh, I might even get done with half of these. That's not bad. The one thing I do not think I'm gonna get through is I said that I wanted the Augustine's number 11 dress, or I guess it's a tunic, but I wanted to make it like a dress, and I said I wanted that in time for Valentine's Day, which as of filming, Valentine's Day is in 10 days, and I just do not think that is very feasible. So I will not have that done for Valentine's Day, but I do intend to get it finished and have it ready at some point, because I do have the yarn. And speaking of yarn, oh, it's acquisition time. Okay, so to be fair, one of these acquisitions is something that I bought, mea culpa. I said I wasn't going to buy any more yarn, but I wanted a Christmas knit, And that just didn't come to pass because I was knitting on other things over Christmas, but I do still have the yarn and the pattern ready. And another one is technically not my fault because I won a giveaway, guys. So I didn't really purchase anything. It's just my stash expanded despite my best wishes, but I am so in love with the yarn. So the Christmas knitting that I bought for myself was, if I can find the catalog in here, Sandnes Garn came out with their Marius Jul sweater collection. So the women's version of the sweater, if I can try and find it in this catalog book for you, here it is. It's just a really nice, chunky version of the traditional Norwegian Marius design, which is just so quintessentially Norwegian. It's there are so many variations of the Marius sweater. They're traditionally drop shoulder. They're usually navy blue and red and white, which are the colors of the Norwegian flag. But I really like this contemporary, very cozy take on the Marius sweaters, so I bought the yarn to make that pattern. And you get, like, if you buy the like package from Sandnes Garn, then you get the pattern book and also as much yarn as you need to make the sweater. So I'm using Sandnes Garn Koss along with a strand of Sandnes Garn Børstet Alpaca for the main color. I don't have the Børstet Alpaca here to show you, but I will hold it along with the Koss, and it is the same color. It's color 1012, which is like a nice neutral off-white. And my contrast color will be this really pretty electric blue that I think is popping up a little bit darker than it is in real life. It's just a tad bit lighter, but it's not too far off the mark. Koss is a beautiful blow yarn that's mostly baby alpaca, and it has some wool and some nylon in here with it. And then Børstet Alpaca obviously is mostly alpaca as well, with just a little bit of synthetic fibers in there. So it's going to be very, very nice and warm. I think these two colors look so nice. I chose them, and then Lena Holme Samse's porcelain sweater started blowing up on Instagram, and that uses both of these colors as well in a really nice 2-color fair isle. So I think that this will look just, it's an even more contemporary take on the Garnius, right? Because the one that they have in their catalog is at least cream and a darker red, which are standard Marius colors, and I'm like, yes, but let's take the blue and let's kick it up a notch and make it some trendy electric blue. So that's my plan for this sweater, and it's knit on 9mm needles, so hopefully it gets done fairly quickly. It's one of the next projects I want to cast on, but my self-imposed rule for myself is I cannot cast on anything new until I cast off at least one thing. So one of the whips that I showed you will have to be done before I can cast on the Sandnes Garn thick Marius sweater. Now for my giveaway acquisitions. I won a yarn giveaway from Quince & Co. earlier last year, and when my mom came to visit, she brought the yarn over for me. It was 2 sweater quantities, you guys, of Quince & Co. yarn, which is just beautiful, beautiful yarn. Very ethically produced, just the most gorgeous colors. I used Quince & Co. Owl for my Maryland Heights sweater, which should be releasing this month, so very excited for that. And their giveaway rules were that you had to post a work in progress using Quince & Co. yarn, and that for me was my Maryland Heights sweater. So I tagged them in that, and I just happened to win a giveaway, which was lovely. So I requested some Camel's the colorway. I requested some Osprey from them in the shade Camel, which is just a really nice kind of, it's a golden toned brown, and it is what is it made of? Let me see. It's 100% there it is, 100% American wool that is grown, spun, and dyed in the US. It's an air and weight yarn, so you get 155 meters per 100 grams. So each of these is 100 grams. And they recommend that you knit it up on US size 9 to 11 needles. And I do not know off the top of my head what that is in millimeters, but I'm guessing it is a fairly big millimeter size. I think a US 7 is a 4.5 millimeter. So I'm guessing a US 9 is then at least a 5 millimeter and above. So I think that's what they recommend that you knit this on. And it's just it has such good structure. I can already tell that stitch definition is going to be so good in this because it's such a sturdy yarn. So I think they also sent me some patterns to go with these. So I requested a pattern for the osprey and I requested a pattern for the other yarn, but I might end up designing something instead. I do not know. But basically it looks like it's really, really good for cables. It looks like it's really good for structural knitting. I don't know how I feel about cables exactly because it is quite a bulky yarn, so it might wear down the sweater a lot, but definitely like any kind of textured knitting, it would do so well with that. Like this is strong, sturdy yarn. And in contrast, I have this absolutely beautiful Quince & Co. crane, which just has the best drape. It's amazing. And it is, I keep putting the tag around. It's 40% Super Kid mohair and 60% superfine merino. It's a worsted weight yarn and it is 190 meters per 100 gram skein, which this is 100 gram skein. And they recommend it on US 6 and 7 millimeter needles, and 7 is a 4.5. And so I'm guessing it's like somewhere between 3.5 to 4.5 maybe is what they recommend that you use it on. And they have this whole thing. So they get their mohair. They get the mohair from Texas, they say. And then they blend the Texas mohair with South African Super Kid mohair with superfine merino from non-mulesed sheep herds. And crane is the result. So they have, it's like, I didn't want to read out the whole thing, I just want to paraphrase, but they have like a tag with information on it. So this yarn is spun and dyed in South Africa, but I think it's mohair from Texas and South Africa. And this is the colorway Blanco, which is a very rosy tinted neutral off-white, which is just a very sweet romantic colorway. Like I think it works really well with the fact that this is such drapey, glowy, kind of halo-y yarn, just to have a very kind of feminine and kind of wistful, magical colorway to go with it. So I do not know what this is going to end up being either, but look at the drape. Oh, I'm in love. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. So thank you so much to the people at Quince & Co. for sending me yarn. Oh, it's amazing. It's so nice. And this is the biggest giveaway I've ever won. It feels really good. Yeah. So that is all that I have to show you today in terms of my finished objects and my works in progress and my acquisitions. Again, I would love to know what you're working on. I would love to know what your recent acquisitions are, what you're most excited to work on. Just go ahead and leave me a note and we can just fan out about yarn together, which is one of my favorite things to do. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe for more or turn on the little notification bell so you get a little message whenever I release a video. That would be lovely. And if you want to come over and say hello, I'm over on Instagram and Ravelry and TikTok as the Strikkechick. And you can also find me on my own website, thestrikkechick.com. Until next time, you guys, happy knitting! Bye!